space for growth, accountability, and transformation, where insight meets action and people learn to move forward with purpose. Miss Jackie, how are you?
Doing good. At the time of this recording, it's already the first week of March. Oh my goodness, we're almost going into the second week of March. Wow.
Quarter of the year. It's
Yes.
almost finished. And it's so fast after that. We are in the half of the year. But
Right.
thank God we're doing our coaching 101 already. This is our ninth edition.
Yes,
Ninth.
exactly. Mhm.
So fast, people, so fast. This is only a beginning of our podcast because we have a lot of podcasts doing with Miss Jackie. We want to plug in now because they are something that we need to plug in as
We
a
need to get the
marketing
awareness out there, right? Yep. Yeah,
marketing
gotta get the awareness out.
strategies.
Mm-hmm.
After this, we're doing our new podcast, which is Miss Jackie. What is it?
Current Events 101. So we talk about everything and anything you could ever want to know around the world that's happening.
Around the world.
Yes.
We did this podcast because every now and then, Miss Jackie and I, we talk about current events. And I said, why not? We do it as a podcast. So we did it materialize. But for today, Miss Jackie, what will be our topic on Coaching 101?
Yes, so for today, we're going to talk about creating safe space, psychological safety in coaching. Yeah, good.
Psychology. So, how can a coach, Ms. Yagi, establish trust quickly while maintaining professional boundaries? That's hard to do.
Yes. Yeah, it can be. When we look at that psychological safety, people that aren't in coaching or they don't know about psychology. I studied psychology when I was in my undergraduate and graduate studies. So that's about being able to feel safe, to be honest, without humiliation or punishment. So I think that's important. We've talked about that before, Daniel, in earlier episodes, that you want to give people that safe space. So that's what that's about. And then the coaching safety is about that confidentiality, that respect, the consent, and that ties into the non-judgment as well. So I think being able to make sure that we, as coaches, give them that safety and that in both aspects, both from that psychological standpoint and the coaching standpoint as well.
Certainly. Yes, I think that this second episode, if I'm not mistaken, right? We talk
Mm.
about boundaries. People,
Yes.
a coach can establish trust quickly by creating environment of psychological safety while clearly defining the objective of who you are as a coach. You need to give boundaries so that the client and as a coach, you know what you are doing. Because if there's no boundaries or something else, it creates chaos with you, and the relationship will not be successful. And our aim is to have a successful relationship together. So, Ms. Jackie, what behaviors from coach signal to a client that is safe to be vulnerable and honest?
I think when we've talked about this before, when the coach asks open-ended questions and they allow the client to be able to open up in a way that they feel like they can trust them, right, and they can bring that information to them without feeling like they're going to be judged or anything like that. So I think that's a way that they build trust, and so I think that's the first key right there is building that trust with the client. So there's some different ways that they can do that they can build safety. And I think one thing they can do is they can ask permission of the client. Sometimes it's reflecting back to that, so they can ask the client, can I reflect something I'm noticing with what you're saying, or something like that. Then they help normalize it, because sometimes what they're feeling is normal, right? And clients may not realize that, but oftentimes it is. So they can say something like, that's more common than what you may think. And then they validate it and they say it makes sense that you're feeling that way as well. So, yeah. And then make sure to clarify those confidentiality portions and the limits of confidentiality as well. So if you feel like you're getting into something a little bit where you're in unsure territory, make sure that you talk about that as well if needed.
Hmm. Definitely, certain behaviors from coach communicate psychology safely and encourage a client to be vulnerable and honest. I think that's the one trait that we need: vulnerable and honest. One of the most important is active, non judgmental listening. When a coach listens without interrupting, reacting defensively, or rushing to give advice, the client sense that their thoughts and experience are being respected. And so, Miss Jackie, what behaviors from a coach and signals to a client that is safe to be vulnerable and honest?
Mm. I think one of the things is not to force that vulnerability, and I think just keeping the communication lines open with the client. I think that really helps. Yeah, I think that they will open up and they'll be vulnerable when it's not forced upon them, and it's natural, right? So start with those. If you feel like the client is not opening up, maybe take it slow, take it little things at a time, right? As they say, the baby steps, right? And take it
Mm-hmm.
slow. Don't feel like you have to get it all out in one session. If you feel like the client needs more than one session, that's okay. You just go at the pace that you feel like the client needs. That's going to help them to open up and be vulnerable when it's right for them. Because I think one of the things that is almost like a deal breaker and what can break trust is forcing that to happen too soon.
Mm. As they said, how would you eat an elephant in a room? Mm. Step
Mm,
by
right.
step.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I think another thing that can be, kind of a pitfall too, that can kind of ruin that trust is ignoring power dynamics.
Mhm.
Those can be things like age of the client, their role, what they do, maybe what they do, especially if it's executive coaching, but also in any type of coaching, really. And then also culture. Culture is a big one because there are certain cultures where there's things that are done differently than maybe what the coach might be used to. So knowing what those power dynamics are so important in any type of coaching relationship.
Mm, definitely. Very well said, Miss Jackie. And how does psychological safety influence a client's willingness to admit mistakes, fears, or uncertainty?
I think that's important. I think sometimes you can even, without sharing too much, right, about because you want to keep your professional life and your private life separate as a coach, right? But,
Yes.
um, but there's ways that you can probably do that to make the client feel like what they're going through is not something that's maybe out of the norm because, a lot of times if we're going through something, someone else has gone through it, right? So I think it's important to to go through that. So if you're doing executive coaching, for example, and you're coaching someone on how to get, say they want a promotion and they've gone through that process several times to get a promotion and they get turned down every time, right? And then they want to work with a
Yes.
coach to see what can I do to get that promotion, or maybe it's something where I need to shift my focus and maybe focus on something else. But if they're really set on that promotion and the executive coach has worked with others through that, then they can maybe give examples without giving away names, of course, because of confidentiality. But maybe if it's something like that, they can say, okay, well, I've worked with clients in the past that have gone through such and such, and here's some ways that they've overcome that, or they've been able to move past that. So that could be a good way to do it as well, and just show them that it's something that they don't have to fear, really.
Mm. Certainly, that's a good way to do because psychological safety plays a critical role in clients' willingness to admit mistakes, fears, or uncertainty because it removes the fear of judgment, embarrassment, or negative consequences. So, Ms. Jackie, what role does active listening play in creating a coaching environment where clients feel respected and understood?
That's good too. I think one of the ways that we can practice active listening with our clients uh, is making sure that we're not interrupting them and we're letting them be able to talk, finish their thoughts. I would say probably use the 80-20 rule where the client talks 80% of the time
Yes.
and the coach talks 20% of the time. I think that's an important thing to do. And then also reflect things back to the client. And so what you can do is when they're if you're asking them a question and they're answering that and they're giving you a response, then you can reflect that back to them and say, "Okay, that's great. So this is what I heard you say." And then that helps to it's for the client to know that you're listening and you're not thinking about the next thing that you're going to ask. So stay in the moment and don't I would say don't try to think about the next question or look down at what you're going to ask next, but actually pay attention and in that moment right there and what they're saying, because that'll help you with the next question, I think, or whatever response you're going to give to them as well. So those are a few
Mhm.
tips. Yeah.
Thank you for the tips, Miss
Yes.
Jackie. And active listening plays a central role creating coaching environment where clients feel respected and understood because it demonstrates the coach is fully present and genuinely interested in the client's perspective. When a coach listens attentively without interrupting or judging or rushing a provide solutions, the clients experience a sense of validation. That is you that is a good thing. Validation for the client itself, and you will gain the trust. And Ms. Jackie, how can coaches respond to emotional disclosure without becoming a therapist or crossing ethical boundaries?
That's important. Yeah, so I think it's important to not cross those boundaries for sure. So if you start to feel like that's happening, I would say stop. If you have to stop in the middle of the session, stop in the middle of the session and and do that. I would say try not to definitely don't go too far because you don't want to cross those ethical boundaries. And if you have to report something, then you do. You report it or you refer out. So yeah, so I would say definitely make sure that you're not doing that. Yeah, I wouldn't want anything to happen to a coach or to a client that causes something down the road that would would be something that would be unsafe or anything like that. So definitely be careful when it comes to that. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Daniel.
We are muted.
That's
Thank
okay.
you for that. Thank you for that,
Sure.
Miss Jackie. As I'm saying, coaches can respond to emotional disclosure by acknowledging the client's feeling with empathy while maintaining a clear focus on coaching scope for growth, performance, and forward movement. Definitely. And of course, Miss Jackie, what are the signs that client does not feel psychological safe during coaching session?
Mm. Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I would say, based on the experience that I've had working with curriculum and knowing coaches and, just the different things that I've learned over the years, is one of the things that I hear most often is that coaches will notice that the client is, they're not, they seem to be fidget, they do things like they fidget or they, Yeah, they just don't know what they're trying to get out, trying to say, right? So that can happen. Or you notice that their answers are short, like they say yes, no, things like that. They don't really share much. And when you, as a coach, try to ask them additional questions, they will either say, "Oh, I don't want to answer that," or yeah, or they'll avoid it or something like that. So I would say those different things are things that can happen quite often when you feel like the client is doesn't have that psychological safety as well, and maybe even they skip appointments, right?
Mhm.
They either don't show up or they keep rescheduling appointments and things like that. So it may not always be in the session, but it may be things that are going on outside of the session that you may notice that are leading to that, where they don't feel like they have that psychological safety.
Mm. Very well said, Miss Jackie. Yes, several behaviors and communication signals can indicate that Ken client does not feel psychologically safe during the coaching session. One common sign is, I think, surface level communication. Instead of
Hmm.
speaking openly, the client may give short, vague answer or stick to safe topics to avoid a deeper reflection. It's better, people, if you're a coach, take the validation and create a trust where your client will give you the full answer that you want to talk about, and for sure you have successful partnership together. So, Miss Jackie, how can coaches create an atmosphere where difficult conversations, such as accountability or failure, can happen without shame?
Mm.
It's hard to ask
Yes.
that one.
Yeah, it is. It can be hard, especially when you have something like what we just talked about, where the client doesn't have that psychological safety. Then I think it's hard to move forward, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of I think the coach will feel like things are not progressing, and probably the client will too. So I think that's important to make sure, again, that you're not rushing that, and that you give the client that space to have that safety and have that trust. And yeah, sometimes it may not happen in a couple of sessions. It may take more time because every client is different, just like we're all unique and we're all different. So, um, I think one thing is not to treat every client the same, right? We're not cookie cutter. So, I think it's important to treat everyone in a unique way, and just know that not every client's going to be ready to move to the next step or next goal in a certain amount of time. Some may do it in a faster time frame, and some may take a little longer. So I think recognizing that and knowing as a coach that you have to just treat everyone with that unique mindset, right?
Mhm. Mindset indeed. And coaches can create atmosphere where difficult conversations such as accountability, mistake, or failure can occur without shame by establishing culture or learning rather than judgment. This begins with framing challenges and failures as natural parts of a growth and development. When a coach consistently communicates that setbacks are opportunities for reflection and improvement, clients are more likely to approach difficult topics with openness rather than fear. Yes, that's true. Because the
Yes.
more
Hmm.
talking to your clients that, oh, failure give you motivation to strive more. Failure give you more strive to be the best and learn from it.
Right. Absolutely. Yes.
So, Miss Jackie, in what ways does confidentiality strengthen psychological safety and deepen the coaching relationship?
I think that's so important because when you're coaching one on one, you want to make sure that there is that confidentiality, that the client trusts the coach, right? And that things that are
Mm-hmm.
going to be said in that session are going to stay there. Unless it's a mandated reporting situation, but with coaching that doesn't happen too often. That usually happens in therapy. So that wouldn't probably happen very often. But if in coaching they do go beyond that boundary, right, and do share something, I think the coach needs to be aware of that and know what to do, because there's no guarantee that that's never going to happen. So I think being prepared for that is really important in case they do cross that boundary. Then you know, as a coach, how to handle it. So I think having all those tools in your tool belt are really important. Have a good coaching tool belt and have them ready just in case. But I think also, you know, being able to have that two-way respect also, right? So the client respects the coach's time and the coach respects the client's time. I think that's so important. So if there's an hour coaching session set aside, then they need to honor each other's time in that session, and know that, okay, there's an hour I have with the client and vice versa, and be able to make the most of that time and honor it. So yeah, I think there's ways that we can honor that, and yeah, and just not broadcast it to social media or anything like that, right? That's important too. Yes. Yep.
Definitely.
So yeah.
Yes, confidentially strengthen psychological safety in coaching by assuring clients that the information they share will be protected and treated with respect as their privacy. So, to wrap up our discussion, Ms. Jackie, how does psychological safety empower clients to take risks, empowerment with new behaviors, and pressure transformation with confidence?
Mm. I think it's really important when you have a coach that you know that you can trust, right? Where you feel like you have that psychological safety, and yeah, and I think it allows you to open up and be able to reach your goals as someone who knows that they're moving towards that, and they can be successful along the way. So yeah.
Yes, indeed. Psychological safety empowers the clients that take risks, experiment, and new behaviors and pause transformation because it removes the fear of embarrassment, judgment, or failure. When clients feel safe within the coaching relationship, they know their ideas, his uncertainties, and mistakes will be met with curiosity and respect rather than criticism. This sense of security encourages them to step outside of their comfort zone and explore possibilities in life, otherwise avoid. So, Miss Jackie, would you like to plug in something?
Sure. Thank you for that. I appreciate it, Daniel. I do have my own podcast. It's an educational podcast called Designing with Love. So if anyone would like to check that out, they can follow it and listen wherever they listen to their podcasts. I'd appreciate it.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Jackie Pellegrin because if you support her, more and more episodes will rise, and my partner is celebrating 100 episodes of her podcast. Congratulations, partner! And more episodes to come. And of course, Miss Jackie and I doing lots of 101s. We're doing Coaching 101, Bible Verses 101, and you can listen them wherever you listen your podcast, as well our upcoming Miss current events 101, and
Yes.
of course the other one, Miss Jackie, the comedy version.
Oh, Mystery Stories 101. Yes. I love it.
Yes. And of course, AI 101, Tech 101 soon be available to all the podcasts. But from this moment, we are live every Friday. So tune in, watch us, and listen to us to all social media. But if you don't like our podcasts, our live episodes, please do listen to us to Live 365 on the US, through online radio, through Universal Podcasts, as well as Radio Talks in the UK. So please, people, support us because every episode that we are doing with Miss Jackie, for sure we're giving you the best of the best that will empower you, that you will earn knowledge and wisdom through your everyday life. So, Miss Jackie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for joining us and keep learning.
Maricon people, see you soon.